So let's look at your journey to Kirikiri.
Okay, so General Gawan had already sent for me, put a plane and ironed my clothes, went to Oba of Benin, who even gave me a land, 100 by 100 feet at that time, as a gift for my gallantry.
Do you still have your land?
I have the document, but I've never been to the place up to today.
So somebody must have built on you.
Well, that again, I don't have any land in any of the GRAs in this country, in any part of this country that I served, even in Ilorin. You know. Anyway, to go back to General Gawan, so General Gawan has sent for me. But when I got there, it was like about 7 p.m. And he was at a meeting with the president of Togo, Yadema. And then they went to tell him that Alabi is here, so he told me to come in. Then there, if you see the way I marched there and banged my foot, I almost broke my back. Then he said, well, look, I'm at a meeting with Yadema, take him away. He just said, take him away. So, but I was tired and I slept in the Land Rover. And by the time I woke up, I was at Kirikiri. I was at the prison yard and I saw Kirikiri. The warders, everybody had come around. I was fighting them. I was 27 years old with karate, with neck chop. Everybody was holding their neck. I was fighting them until they overpowered me and they wanted to knock my head with their dungeon. And then Mr. Ifije, the warden commander there, the chief warder.
You had grabbed him before.
I was already kicking his balls. And then they said, all right, leave him, leave him, leave him. God came to hide him here. The war was going on. I said, God came to hide me in Kirikiri, did not hide me at Federal Palace to drink and dance. I've been fighting for 2 weeks, 15 days, alone and my God. And this is where I will end. I was there for 15 days, you know, at Kirikiri. I was doing hunger strike. They brought food I don't want to eat. They brought the next day, I don't want to eat. When hungry catch me, I told them to go bring chop. What do you want? Pounded yam. What soup? Egusi soup. What meat? Go bring any meat. I want liver. They brought everything. Will you like to drink? Well, go bring water and beer. I never drank. And then some of the prisoners say, Oga, ask for cigarette. But I didn't know which cigarette to ask for. So I said, bring cigarette, anyone, maybe bicycle. Then they said, no. Tell them Benson and Hedges. So when they brought bicycle, I tossed it to the prisoner and I said, Benson and Hedges is what I want next. And I want fish. They brought everything. They looked after me.
You were not a smoking soldier.
You know, I was not drinking. I was not smoking. And then on the 15th day, one Mr. Bakari came to interview me. And he said, all Nigerian troops had died at River Niger. Oh, those are all my soldiers. All my troops, they said, yes. And they had told General Gawan. So General Gawan then said, all Nigerian troops, they say all. What happened to Alabi Isama? They said, you told us to bring him. We brought him here. You said, take him away. We lock him up at Kirikiri. You lock Alabi Isama at Kirikiri. What did he do? But you told us to take him away. We could have shot him. What about Akinade? Akinade was looking for him. And so the two of them were not among the troops that died at Onitsha River. He just said, look, transfer Alabi Isama straight away to join Adekunle at Marine Commando, about to land at Calabar.
The prison warder was right? You know, he was preaching to you.
Yeah,
there.
well, and then when they said I should kneel down for prayer, you need to see my hand wide open.
Because you just realized you would have died in that river crossing.
Yes.
But how did they make such a blunder, crossing the river Niger that way?
Again, the level of your knowledge on a subject is very important. That's why when we are discussing with people, especially students at the military college, you let him talk. That's the level of his knowledge. Then you will tell him why he shouldn't do that or why that was a good idea. You must let people talk so that you will know the level of their knowledge on the subject you are discussing with them. So, again, it's like banjo. Why will you say Alabi Isama was going to be the only obstacle that will stop you from getting to Lagos? You will have arrived in Lagos. To be in the morning, the man will wake up and you, good morning, sir. They say, make I bring you to Enugu. That's all. You will capture as many as you want to capture.
Because one of the biggest victories,
yes,
one of the biggest victories of the Biafran army during the war was the demolition of Nigerian soldiers during that River Niger crossing.
Well, if you use the word demolition, what did they demolish? They killed the houses.
Soldiers perished.
Yeah, it's over. That was them crossing back after they had captured Benin, after they had captured the Midwest. It was after they had captured the Midwest, arrived at Asaba, trying to go to Onitsha, that they perished on the river. Do you get my point?
Is it not the Nigerian soldiers that perished in the river?
It was Nigerian soldiers. But it was not by the fact that Biafra killed them. It was a wrong tactics and a wrong instruction.
But they were ambushed at Onitsha.
Oh, yes, if that is what you are saying.
Yeah.
Okay, because the wrong tactics and the wrong strategy took them to a wrong place, even at Abagana. Even at Abagana, the pictures in my book, they went as if they were going on a picnic. And instead of Biafra, what we did at Uyo, where we captured all their vehicles and told them to run away, Biafra did not capture their vehicles. They just burnt everything and demolished everything. And Achuzia was so happy about that.
And that was the wrong tactics.
That was the wrong tactics. You know, the tactics of Biafran officers and men were very kindergarten.
Tell me more.
Even at Port Harcourt, they were so happy that they were attacking One, going into Bonny. They were so happy that they attacked One and they captured One. They have forgotten that the aim, according to the map they stole, was to capture Port Harcourt. So they thought it was Adekunle coming to capture Port Harcourt. And then they, of course, realized that with Opobo River, nobody can cross that river easily. I told Isaac Boro to train 300 people. He trained 3,000. He trained 3,000. And these 3,000, about 2,000 had already crossed the river, came behind enemy lines, behind Biafra lines at Bori Ogoni. That was how we were able to build the pontoon. We couldn't have been able to build the pontoon if that plan did not work.
Gowon sent you to the 3rd Marine Commando.
Yes.
Where Adekunle reigned.
He had just captured Bonny.
Adekunle captured Bonny on the 26th, 27th of July, 1967.
Right. That's right. And he was now attacking, you see, he did not attack Bonny. He infiltrated into Bonny because if it was an attack where they were bombing, they had 13 million liters of fuel in the tank. So he knew that. Part of his plan was to infiltrate into the place, take up a defensive position, make sure that the tanks were safe. And that's what he did.
Were Biafran soldiers in Bonny at the time?
The Biafran soldiers were at Bonny.
Why were they there? What was so special about the Atlantic during that war?
Good. The British consul at Enugu and the American consul at Enugu went to Ojukwu. There is, I guess, There is today a declassified secret document where these two people, the British and the American consuls, they went to Ojukwu to say, look, this Atlantic Ocean, and if Nigeria will come through Atlantic Ocean, how will you handle it? Ojukwu said, there is nobody among the Nigerians that will even know the creeks. They don't know the creeks. They won't even be able to fight the Atlantic Ocean. This was what Ojukwu underrated the Nigerian army. And you know, in those creeks, Sombrero creeks, Mackenzie, Calabar creeks, all those creeks, we already studied them on the map. Adekunle knew about this map. His wife was from Bonny.
How did you get the maps?
From Nigeria now. Nigeria had a cartography office. Nigeria, we're a country, you know. We have all these things in Lagos.
Why was it so important to capture that zone?
Because of the oil tank. But then, Ojukwu just said there is nobody in Nigeria that can do that.
So Ojukwu did not defend it well?
He did not defend. I wrote it in my book. He did not defend it with the seriousness that it deserved.
Or did Biafra have the capacity to defend it?
Of course, my friend.
Remember, Biafra did not have the weapons.
Ojukwu had already said that there is no power in Africa that could defeat his troops.
No, forget what was said, because you wrote in your book here that the powers behind Biafra's propaganda machine was intimidating.
Good.
So forget what was said.
Yeah, but if it was said by the head of state of my country, I should believe him.
By the time you began to attack, you discovered that Biafra didn't have the weapons to fight the war.
Not only the weapons, they didn't have that kind of sense to win the war. Biafra, you must know that Biafra never woke up one day to say we were going to attack a place other than that Asaba crossing. They made a little effort at Kotekpene, but that was a counter-attack. They made a little effort at Aba, that was a counter-attack. They made a little effort at Olu and Oguta, that was a counter-attack. Biafra had never gotten up to say, we are going to attack so place.
So they were mostly on the defensive.
They were always on the defensive.
Now, capturing the Atlantic was key to controlling the sea, right?
Of course.
After Nigeria captured that axis, what happened to Biafra?
Of course, Biafra retreated. 3 Marine Commando now had captured Bonny. 3 Marine Commando now had captured Calabar. So, from Bonny to Calabar, 300 kilometers of Atlantic Ocean, is now in the hands of 3 Marine Commando. Therefore, from Lagos to Calabar, 1,000 kilometers of Atlantic coast, now owned by Nigeria.
So by this time, Biafra had been cut off from the sea.
That's it. They could not get a supply from the sea.
And you needed the sea to get supplies.
Well, they could use the air. That's why we started looking for the air. They could use the road through Ikom. But then we went also to capture Obubra and close Ikom border.
By the time the 3rd Marine Commando captured the Atlantic theater, Biafra became landlocked, right?
Yes.
No access to the sea.
No.
What about Oguta? Is that not access to the sea?
Onitsha, they will have to come to Atlantic Ocean. Onitsha is also a tributary to the Atlantic Ocean. All the waters in the world are to be deposited in the Atlantic Ocean or in the Pacific. That's how the Lord made it. So in Nigeria, whatever the river, whether Otamiri, Imo River, Cross River, whatever the river, Apayafe, all these rivers deposited their water into the Atlantic.
So on a good day, if we are discussing tactically, a Biafra will not be productive without access to the sea.
Yes.
That means, let's assume Biafra will come.
Yes.
That means that Biafra must include some parts of River State.
Yes.
For it to have access to the sea.
You see, the point is, all they had to do is defend the land. The ship must have to come to land, The ship must have to bring troops to land, and we will not let it land.
But you need to defend the sea.
That's what we're saying. You don't have to defend the sea by staying in the sea, because you don't probably have the boat. They had the boat, which did not work, which was attacked by, I've forgotten the name of this Yoruba officer, and Pascal Odu was from the Biafran side attacking the Nigerian boat. I've forgotten the name of this officer. Anyway, whatever that was, if you stay at the shore, you have no ship, you stay at the shore, the troops must land on the shore, their weapons must land on the shore, their supplies must land on the shore. You could take them on. You could take them on. Easy and quiet.
General Isama,
yes.
Nigeria was better equipped, right?
That again is an assumption.
No, you tell me. You fought the war.
Yes.
You saw Biafran weapons.
Okay.
Because you captured territory.
Yes.
You captured Biafran soldiers.
Yes.
So what did you notice about Biafran weapons?
If the tactics was wrong, if the strategy was wrong, the weapon would be no use. It was like crossing the river at Asaba. The weapons was no use. Whatever the weapon they carry, it was no use. That is just the point. So your tactics and your strategy and tactics your aim would dictate the strategy and tactics to apply.
In your book,
how many weapons did I have to attack their punch unit at Asaba and then at Agbo? I delayed them for 6 hours. They couldn't capture Benin. I delayed them for another 6 hours. They couldn't capture Ore.
So it's about strategy.
Strategy and tactics will play more important role than the weapons you are carrying.
In your book, you showed pictures of tactics and strategy sessions.
Yes.
You were instrumental to designing some of the tactics.
Yes.
To capture territory.
Yes. Like dilemma strategy to capture Obubra, so that we could have the entire Cross River state. The Scorpion strategy to capture the river state, today's Akwa Ibom and today's Bayelsa.
You talked about the Scorpion strategy.
Okay.
What is the link between Isaac Adaka Boro and the Scorpion strategy?
Okay. That's a very important question, because without Isaac Boro, we would probably have captured Port Harcourt, but it would have been difficult. Isaac Boro made it easier. He knew the creek very well. He could even fire a 2-inch mortar from the boat, from the canoe.
He was a good soldier?
He was not a trained soldier. He was like General Gap of Diebenfu. He was not a trained soldier, but he trained himself with a lot of common sense. General Gap in Diebenfu told me that he was just a teacher, that he was not a general. But when they found him able to move people and motivate people, they kept on promoting him until they made him a general. And he proved himself. The same thing was Isaac Boro. Let me use this example. If there is a hill and there is a big stone that was rolled down and hit vehicles or hit people and kill people and destroy things, it is not the stone. The momentum was caused by the hill. The momentum was not caused by the stone. So, if you told a soldier to fire to the right, that's the officer. You fire to the right and we won. If you leave the soldier alone, he probably fire to the left or to the back. So, the part that Isaac Boro played was certain things that I could not have done because I didn't know the creek that much. I only knew that from the map. He taught me how to walk on the creek. All the mods, how to walk. He said, I should use your toe. Oga, use your toe, as if you are dancing ballet. Say, shut up, I am the commander here. Say, yes, sir, but use your toe. You know, so the way you walk in the creek and in the marsh area is not the same you will walk on the ordinary floor. I told Isaac Boro, when Adekunle sent him to me, to train 300 Rivers people. All the Rivers people that were in Biafra, they ran to him. He trained them in swimming. And they were able to swim across the river in Calabar with their pack, with their equipment, with their weapon, across the river.
He was a leader soldier.
6 people with their equipment will be in the canoe. 8 people without their equipment. When we got to Opobo was when I realized how useful this man had been. I knew he was very useful when we captured creek, it's called Jamestown. I went on a patrol with him in a dinghy. 3 of us. The canoe, the dinghy could only take 3 of us. The person that was driving it, and Isaac and myself. The pictures are in this book. We captured Jamestown. There is a place called Windham Creek. Thank God I could remember some of these things. Windham Creek. How we got there? Biafra did not see us.
Were Biafrans there?
He knew the creek. They were not there. The Biafrans were on the dry land. We went through the creeks and came out behind them.
Oh.
By the time we came out behind them at the creek at Jamestown, they fled.
Fled to where?
They fled away. Because they didn't want us to capture them. We had surrounded them. We had surrounded them, and that was why he got to Opobo. The pontoon, the government pontoon that used to carry people across, traders across, going to Port Harcourt, going to Eleme, going to Lelenwa, and so on. He captured it intact.
Did he address troops? Did you see him addressing troops?
He was. I put him in the training school, and I call it the Sea School.
You know, he was a student union leader.
Yes, Nsukka, I was told. He told me that.
Even before the war, he had launched the 12-day revolution.
They told me. He too told me. He told me because I asked him why was he fighting the federal government. He was fighting the federal government because of the oil.
So he was a revolutionary in that war?
Yes. The answer is yes.
He believed in the cause of Nigeria?
Yeah, well, he believed in the cause of the rivers if Nigeria will accept his conditions. The rivers people, if Nigeria will accept his condition. What are his conditions? We will share the oil. We will have majority. You can't have majority. He wanted the oil to be shared among the states in the country, the regions. But now we gave it to individuals. We were silly. We are silly.
So he had that in mind while fighting for Nigeria.
That's exactly why he fought. That's why he fought against Nigeria. You know, he fought against Nigeria to start with.
Yes.
Yes.
Then he was arrested.
Yes.
And later released.
Yes.
And he joined the Nigerian army.
Yes.
So while the army war was going on, he still had that same belief that led to the earlier agitation.
Yes.
At what point did he die?
Well, he came to me that morning to receive his final order. Every commander came, Yemi Alabi, Ayo Ariyo, Romobo, everybody came to me that morning for the final attack into Port Harcourt. It was 17th of May, 1968.
Why were they all coming to you?
Because I was the chief of staff and I was the commander. Adekunle was in Lagos.
Adekunle was operating from Lagos?
Well, wait a minute. I think we've gone beyond that. Adekunle was sick. He trusted that I could handle the division. If he reported that he was sick, they will put him in the hospital, they will change him. He didn't want to be changed. And he believed he would be well. He trusted that. In fact, he gave me some tests like to capture Udukpani. I wrote it in the book. He told me certain places to go and capture, and I went to capture them. And he believed that I could handle the division. That's why he left the division for me.
So they were coming to you.
And I did not want to betray his trust. I did not want to tell anybody that he was sick, because he told me not to tell anybody. But every plan that I made, I passed to him.
How did you pass your plan to him?
We have a 301 radio. I had a 301 radio.
So while he was in Lagos, the Nigerian state didn't know he was sick?
Yes.
Gowon didn't know.
But he was still working. He was still collecting supplies and everything. He was still sending things, and he was working even harder than being in the war front.
So?
But he had to be seeing his doctor. The doctor couldn't be coming to the war front.
So Isaac Adaka Boro came to you that morning?
Isaac Adaka Boro came to me that morning to receive his order for final attack into Port Harcourt. The instructions are contained in this book. And he saw that, he knew that, because we've been talking about it. You don't just wake up in the morning and say, this is what you are going to do. He had to tell his men too. You know, I read in my command, he said he gave the order for 1 hour. He gave the order to a division advancing about 100,000 people. He gave the order for 1 hour to attack where? He has to, from the brigades, they have to tell the battalions have to tell the company has to tell the platoon has to tell the section, and it's a division of labor. Everybody must know where to go. And now in the case of Isaac Boro, he made sure that creeks, we should leave the creeks for him. So I left the creeks for him. I followed him up to Windenham Creek behind Jamestown. When we captured that place, I left him and came back to move the other troops forward. And because he was there, it was so easy for us to land at Oron. Even though I read in Madebo's book that they defeated us at Oron or somewhere, but he wrote again in this book that everywhere they tried to settle, they were ambushed. It was the Scorpion strategy. It was the Scorpion strategy.
Who designed that strategy?
I did.
And Isaac Adaka Boro helped you implement?
Oh yes, because the Creek part of it would have been difficult.
So, when he left, what happened? I want to know how he died.
Okay, so he left me at 6 a.m. with his orders. Then on his way to his unit at Aleto Eleme by Okreka, one little building there, he probably could have said, hey, Audley, what's in that house that they locked the door? He went himself. And by 6:30, they came to tell me that Isaac Boro was shot. And they caught one ragtag swine. The picture is in the book here.
A Biafran soldier?
The Biafran soldier that shot him had only one round of ammunition in his rifle. One round of ammunition and shot Isaac Boro.
And that was the end of
That
Boro.
was the end. He never entered Port Harcourt.
He never entered Port Harcourt?
He never entered Port Harcourt.
What was that day like?
Well, first of all, his troops were annoyed. His troops were annoyed. He was commanding 19th Brigade. And they started raining bullets on Biafra. I stopped the attack. We were to arrive at Port Harcourt at 12 o'clock. We arrived at 2 o'clock because I stopped the attack for 2 hours. In my command, Obasanjo said the troops scatter. They were annoyed. They wanted to enter Port Harcourt immediately. No, I had to stop them. We were not going to enter Port Harcourt. We were going to go to Ilele. So 15th Brigade of Akinade plus 19th Brigade, under the command of Yemi Alabi, they went to Ilele and Igrita. And Shande went to Bigbo. So because I had to be able to show you this on the map, because we had surrounded Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt is a big place. That was why Odenwa's book was correct about Owerri.
You're talking about this book?
Yes.
By Chike Odenwa?
Yes, the man wrote a good book.
A good book?
He wrote a good book.
You know, he also fought in that Atlantic Theater.
Yes, he fought in Bayelsa, Ahoda, Ikota front, in Marine Commando. He was against Marine Commando. He was fighting against Marine Commando.
He survived it.
Yeah, he survived it. He survived it, again, by the grace of God.
So why do you read books like this?
I read every book that was written on Biafra. Many people lied. Many people lied. Well, you see, there's nothing wrong if you put a lot of adjective in your effort, in your memoir. He put Pascal Odu, Madiebo, Adekunle, no, Adekunle did not, Obasanjo and so on. It's okay. Even Babangida, it's okay to put a lot of adjective in your effort and in yourself. That is your prerogative as a human being. But don't forget that these books are being read by military schools all over the world, even by your own military schools in Nigeria. And they would discover few things that are not correct because you had over-exaggerated. You have used a lot of superlative adjectives to describe few things. But what is wrong is the fact that you know you are a charlatan. You have described yourself as being the best in the world. Fine. But the man who planned and designed the thing, you say he's the one that is wrong. That is my bone of contention with Obasanjo. Because you knew you were a charlatan on this subject. Now you say Alabi Isama that designed the Operation Scorpion strategy and the dilemma strategy of Obubra. Now, and all my troops were some of these languages, uncouth languages, to say they were looters. That we recruited women for socials. I have to recruit the woman before I sleep with the woman. I mean,
why did you recruit women?
We recruited women because there were two things that were very important at the time. We didn't care until my mother came. My orderly served my mother food. And she said, "Is that my food?" We said, "Yes." Said, "No, she wasn't going to eat the food served by a man. It was a taboo in Ilorin, unless if she was sick. Why will a man come to serve her?" Well, Elijah, it's either you will eat or you go to Lagos. No, we are going to be here. She wasn't going anywhere. Yeah, but we are not allowed to employ ladies except the nurses. And the nurses that came, there was no military hospital in our area of Calabar, Uyo, and the rest of it. Did we ask the government? Well, we didn't need to ask. It was not something that we have to ask. Then she decided she would go to Adekunle. She went to Adekunle in Calabar asking, "Why don't we have women?" Adekunle explained. But finally, Adekunle saw her point and radioed Lagos, sent a signal. Can we employ women to do signals, intelligence, this, that? Even with my mother still sitting down there, the reply came that we could recruit as many as we wanted. We recruited 56 in all. Only about 30 arrived alive. They were killed. Snake bit some. The most important job of those women, fetching firewood in the rain, in the mangrove forest. Where was the dry wood? Where was the kerosene? Where was the petrol to cook? What is it that you will cook with? Where was the gas?
How were you feeding the soldiers?
We were feeding the soldiers using the women. Do you know that Biafra could not even have cooking pots anymore? That's why we were able to feed them, and when they found food in 3 Marine Commando, they were happy. That's why, we didn't kill Biafrans.
But some divisions killed Biafrans.
Yeah, well, that's left to them. I wasn't there. But what I'm telling you is that in 3 Marine Commando, the Biafrans had been defeated mentally before they were defeated physically. They came to eat.
They were hungry.
And they were hungry. And there is a picture in the book with a bucket of eba. They finished it. 2 of them finished it. And they slept. I said, leave them to sleep. And the 2 of you become my orderly. Amechi, he died only 2 years ago at Abeokuta. He was my orderly.
They didn't have food.
They didn't have food.
You have blockaded them.
No, blockading is not what will have given them food. Was it blockade? Even they fought with Caritas that was flying food to them, the Catholic Caritas. Pope had to write letter to Ojukwu because he tried some oil people who were Italians, and he said they were guilty and he was going to kill them. Pope had to write to him. And then they found out, now, wait a minute, if we are feeding these Biafra people as Caritas, now death sentence on our people, then they stopped. I'm telling you, the tactics was wrong. It was as if they were children. The people giving you food, because they are oil workers, they could have been with you. Now you say you are going to try them because they were working in the oil field.
If the tactics was that wrong,
yes,
how come it took almost 3 years for Nigeria to win the war?
All right. Again, you can see that there were infighting here and there. For instance, when Obasanjo came, May 1969, the war was to last 30 days. He was there for 6 months. He didn't tell us he didn't know what to do. He was visiting there and they were receiving him, they were partying there. 6 months, and people were dying. In fact, there is a book now written that he got a supply of 8,000 men and 6,000 died. He was still blaming Gawan. He still needed more supplies.
Why was Benjamin Adekunle replaced with Obasanjo?
First of all, like I told you, he was sick. Secondly, he took things for granted. It was too easy to capture Obubra, to capture Dupani, to capture this and that. And he was boasting in Lagos. Adekunle was different in the war front and different in Lagos. He had told the press in Lagos that he was going to capture OAU. OAU, Owerri. A, Aba, U, Umahia. I was to go to Umahia, I refused. I can capture Umahia in 2 weeks, but I can finish the war in 4 weeks. I would rather finish the war. Shande went to Aba. Shande died. The story is in my book. He came to me the night before with Akinrade. I told him I will capture Obo Hill, going through Azumini, Ikoti Neme, and Ikoti Wa. If I capture those 2, he will then be able to enter Aba. My men were ready. He went to tell Adekunle that he needed more time and more troops. Adekunle called him a coward. And he went on the attack. He didn't even wait for me to go to Ikoti Neme and Ikoti Wa. So by the time we woke up in the morning, we found he was dead. He was shot straight right in the head.
By Biafran troops?
By Biafran troops. That was when we realized that all the people we thought were Hausa troops, they were Benue people. The Benue people said they were not going to fight anymore because Shande died. It took us another week. Akinrade had to take over Aba. And then Owerri. They went to Owerri. I will have to show you this on the map. It's a piecemeal situation. Why would you do that?
Did Adekunle manage the situation well?
Well, that was what went wrong. Oguta, for instance, was Biafra's refinery. They would defend it to death.
You could not take Oguta.
We took Oguta 1, but we could not take Oguta 2. Oguta 2 was more important.
Why couldn't you take Oguta 2?
Because we did not have enough troops. We were going to Igbo heartland. And the tactics must change.
At Lance, many Nigerian troops were killed.
Oh, yeah. Well, you will be talking about 1,000. Yes.
So Biafra was ready to die for Oguta too.
Yeah, well, because it was too near their center of gravity. And talking about center of gravity is not in any military book. I read it in a book.
Center of gravity because of the petrol?
The center of gravity where if I hold you by the neck or something, you will surrender. Is a place of importance to you, your supply line. Because after Enugu had been captured by one div, they captured the airport. 3 div, Marine Commando, captured Calabar. Marine Commando captured Port Harcourt. They had no more airport. Within a month, they built Uli, Hiala, and Uga. That's Biafra ingenuity. Within a month, they did. So that became the center of gravity. That was the only supply line because we had closed ECOM, the land border. We had closed Atlantic Ocean. We had closed the air because we knocked down one of their supply planes. So everybody refused to fly in. Caritas refused to fly in because of the death sentence of the Italians. That's why I said, even if you are holding nuclear weapon, if the tactics was wrong, you are an idiot. If the tactics was wrong.
So because Adekunle could not capture Oguta too, what happened?
Then it's like, here is Oguta, here is Owerri, and this is, what's the name of this man? Makonjo-Ola was in charge of Oguta. Ini was in charge of the right flank at Iyogugu. I'm happy I remember these names. At Iyogugu. When Ini withdrew and Makonjo-Ola withdrew, they left Utuk alone at Owerri. For 7 months, they did not defeat Utuk. Utuk came back with all his dead bodies. With the dead body of his brigade major, Haman. Even broken down vehicles, he brought them out. Why were we not able to meet him at Owerri?
Adekunle's fault?
Well, it was the fault of Marine Commando and he was the commander.
It wasn't your fault?
No, because I wasn't in charge of Sector 1. That was Godwin Ali. I had been, at that time, we had become a sector, Rio Sector 4, between Cross River and Cameroon. I was Sector 2, between Cross River and Azumini. Akinade, I was Sector 3. Akinade Sector 2, between Azumini and Otamiri. And Sector 1 was Ali from Otamiri to, I've forgotten the name of this river. But it's okay, I'm allowed to forget, I'm 85 years old.
So at this point,
Yeah.
Adekunle had to go.
Well, Adekunle, that was not what made Adekunle to go. When Adekunle realized that he had failed in the OAU, he was like a soap bubble. You are beautiful, but there is nothing in the kitty. So, he was unhappy with that. And because Akinade and myself, we had been the major officers against OAU. He decided he was going to ambush us. The story is in here. So he made an effort to ambush us.
Ambush to do what? To kill?
They want to, yes, to kill Akinade and myself.
You were his chief of staff?
Yes.
You covered for him while he was ill?
Yes, but you see, if we were killed, then they would say, Ogunya le Ijaore. You know, they say, it was because the thing was tough. That's why Akinade and Alabi were killed. That's what he wanted to achieve. But unfortunately, as we were driving, the bonnet of my car opened. Have you ever seen a car with the bonnet opened? Never seen it. We tried to put it down. We tried again. It opened again. We abandoned the car, went in the Land Rover where our escorts were. It was a difficult move because from Uyo, Adekunle said we should come at 7 a.m. To arrive at 7 a.m., I left at 9 p.m. through enemy lines without light. Without light. And we had to have the password of each location.
Password?
That means if I got to Nigerian troops and they say, who are you or whatever, and they say friend, yes, Alabi, if you say Isama, maybe that was wrong. Maybe you should say Rahman. They will just open fire. That must be an enemy. So we had to make sure that we got all that.
How did you get it?
And we got that through our own radio. You know, and the ambush commander, the mother came to the war front, and I said, Mama, they've told us not to allow family to come again. But here is my staff car. Go see your Pekin and come back. How many days you want to stay? 4 days. Stay. Use my staff car. So the mama was happy with me. The mama on her way back, I said, well, we have nothing to give you. Here is a bottle of whiskey that I have. And the woman thanked me and prayed and all that. So the son was very happy. Richard, he was the military police commander. He was the one that had to go and lay ambush.
For you?
For me, yes.
And Akinade.
So he sent a note with a motorcyclist, with a rider, to go to Uyo. We had already left. By the time the man came back, we had already arrived at Adekunle's office 6:45. Then Adekunle was by the radio. How did you get here? What do you mean, how did we get here? You said we should come by 7 o'clock. You see, the story is in the book. And when we got there at 7 o'clock, he said, okay, I will talk to you one by one. Alabi, you stay. Akinade, you stay outside. Before he said any word, Akinade just opened the door. He got the note from Richard saying, don't come through Asa. We lay an ambush to kill you. So Akinade just opened the door. He said, they wanted to kill us, oh, let's run away. Like the same strategy. They realized we might go to the airport. We went on our way to Uyo.
By this time, Adekunle must have been paranoid.
When he saw us.
Because at this time,
when he saw us,
I have read different accounts of Adekunle's brutality during the war. That Adekunle killed his own soldiers to prove a point.
That is not true. That's not true. It's because, you know, it's like giving a dog a bad name to hang it. It's not true. Adekunle in the war front was not wicked to anybody. I am saying so as his chief of staff.
He didn't shoot his
You
soldiers.
saw the picture where he was carrying babies?
Yeah, that can be picture. You can stage a picture.
Yeah, I know. You couldn't stage that.
That can be a propaganda too.
What about the body language? What about the British member of parliament that came to see the children? We picked up those children that were abandoned on the way by their parents.
I recently interviewed a W2 soldier that fought under the 3rd Marine Commando.
Okay.
He described Adekunle's brutality towards his soldiers.
He must have been an idiot. What does he know? Adekunle was at divisional headquarters. If he was a warrant officer, he would be with the company or battalion. How did he know? Know what? It was like one warrant officer saying that they had to pay salary. That must be a fool. We had 3 groups of people. The ones that were trained from Oguta that came to us, they already documented with next of kin and everybody. Then we had people we recruited locally. Then we had Biafrans that we documented and back in Marine Commando. Those ones that were documented, they had what we call allotment. That means if your salary was 10 naira, you say, please pay my mother 5 naira, pay my father 1 naira, pay my children's school fees, pay this, the rest you put. The British officers during World War II, those that got home had their money waiting for them in the bank, and they went and bought a house and lived happily thereafter.
What about those that didn't get home?
They what?
Those that didn't get home.
Those that didn't get home, their family, that was what happened. But isn't it better that your family was getting your allowances and money according to allotment than to have 6 months' salary in your pocket and you died?
But when Obasanjo took over from Adekunle,
yes,
he paid them at the war front.
Yeah, because that was one of the problems. The picture is in this book, where Ini was paying soldiers. So, the man who told you the W2 was because he didn't die. If he died 7 days before the end of the war, like Gagara, will he be talking like that? And those officers that came to pay, they had old currency, which was the legal tender in the war front, and they were paying and exchanging it with new ones. Now,
wait, explain this.
All right. The old currency was legal tender in the war front. New currencies were not legal tender in the war front.
So if they paid them the old currency in the war front, if some of them finished the war alive and came back to peacetime, what would have happened to the old currency they got?
Now you got the point. When we say some people are charlatans and you're arguing with me, then what will the old currency, where will he change it? To say I'm just coming from the war front and there we are. Where will he change it?
But
there was a deadline by which you must start changing your money, and there was a deadline. There was a beginning and the end. So where will the man who survived change his old currency?
So before Obasanjo changed that policy, soldiers that had allotment had money sent to their parents,
yes,
and families.
Yes, it was an allotment. The picture is there with paper in their hands. They have a copy. Their next of kin had a copy. The 3 Marine Commando rear had a copy. Nigerian Army had a copy.
By Lance, soldiers were happy that Obasanjo paid them. That
was his story. It doesn't matter what anybody will say about his life. You can put adjective as much as you want, but you cannot then demonize the others. That was a bloody wrong tactics. In the Second World War, who paid any soldier fighting in Antwerp, or fighting in Bastogne, or fighting in Berlin? How do you pay them? They had allotments. How much to pay your school fees for your children? How much to pay your wife? How much to pay your father? In fact, some of the wives left and married some people else. Do you understand? They have to come to the 3 Marine Commando rear with their children, with their parents at the same time for their allotment. Do you understand what I'm saying? They are next of kin. Just that they must be paid. Yourself, your wife, your 2 children, you must be paid together. If that woman had married somebody else, the parents would talk. Do you understand? Logistics in the war front is not kindergarten issue. It's not kindergarten issue. It's a project on its own.